LLP in India and Significant LLC in Delaware, USA. The company employs 80 full-time experts in the area of IPR, which is patents, trademarks, and copyrights. As an IIT Madras 2008 postgraduate, research and technology has always been close to his heart. He has also done course on entrepreneurship, launching an innovative business from University of Maryland, College Park. He has given 12 years of his career solving problems and overcoming hurdles faced by research companies and institutes. He, with this company, has been a technology and IPR consultant to over 400 plus businesses globally spread across 15 countries. He has been a member of Patent Information Users Group USA, Licensing Executive Society USA, CII, TAI, IMA, All India Manual Association, and PhD Chamber of India. So welcome Mr. Harit Mohan to this Series 4 dialogue on digital technology. And we have our another panelist, Mr. Vivek Trivedi, who is from social work sector and also from a government sector also. Mr. Vivek Trivedi is Masters in Social Work, PG Diploma in Journalism and Mass Communication, and presently Research Fellow at Center for Social Work, Punjab University, Chandigarh. He has been awarded with Hindustan Times Brightest Young Climate Leadership Award 2010 by the British Council, New Delhi, and conferred twice State Award in 2014 and 2020 by Chandigarh Administration on 65th Republic Day and 74th Independence Day 2020. He is a global traveler and given global fellowships over the last 15 years, including by UN agencies. Welcome Mr. Vivek Trivedi to this dialogue. And without taking much of the time, I now request our first panelist of the day, Mr. Joseph Jude, to give his deliberation on impact of digital technologies. I'm sorry, I have skipped one of the steps, and Baldeep sir, our chief guest of the day, my request is, I request you to please give the opening remarks as a dialogue chairperson. Baldeep Singh sir, please.
Am I audible to you?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, team of Association of Professional Social Workers and Development Practitioners, for inviting me in Series 4 of United Nations 75 2020 program, Impact of Digital Technologies under the ambit of social SDGs and COVID times. I would also like to give my greetings to the fellow speakers and participants who have joined in this esteemed event. I would like to start by saying that since our society is changing, so does our problems. These problems becomes the goals of any nation, and every nation is developing digital technologies to achieve them as early as possible, and the most important is to do them in a correct manner. Digital technology not only enhances the connectivity, financial inclusion, access to trade and public services, technology, but also is a great equalizer to understand the problems faced in health sector. In particular to situation we are all facing in COVID-19. In health sector, artificial intelligence is also playing the frontier role equipped with digital technologies and are helping to save lives by diagnosing the disease and extending life expectancy. During the COVID situation in education, the virtual learning environments and distant learning have opened up programs to students who would otherwise be excluded. Even the students are giving online papers. Department of Laws in Punjab University has come up with online digital education imparting system. Public services are also becoming more accessible and accountable through blockchain powered systems. The value of the digital data has also been acknowledged by everyone, which supports in creation of more responsive and accurate policies and programs. I am also dealing with 2 out of 17 social development goals of the United Nations in my official duties. First is the social development goal number 1, no poverty. This SDG is covered by the centrally sponsored scheme, DNULM, National Urban Livelihood Mission, where the state of Punjab was ranked at first position in rankings released under 2017-18 by the Ministry of Housing and Urban Development. Under this scheme, we have formed 6,000 self-help groups who have been united to lift their poverty by helping each other. They share a given amount and then give loans among themselves whenever in need. Hence, they don't need the support of money lenders. The second SDG, which I deal, cover most of the SDGs in one go. It is the housing scheme. So to cover the housing for urban homeless, we have centrally sponsored scheme named Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, where we have sanctioned 96,000 in the state of Punjab, and which have even been GS mapped. So here the technology comes up, and construction of most of them have already been started, and 20,000 houses have already been constructed till date. The data of which is available in the government on the Government of India websites. That's all from my side, and I hope that you all will impart knowledge to the needy and stay safe and healthy. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Baldeep sir. And I still remember when I was having a telephonic conversation with you, I think around 4 days back. It was a pleasure to know that you have worked for all the SDG 1717 goals of sustainable development. So I think till now I have met you virtually online only, but I would request Vivek ji and Sumit to give me an opportunity to meet you face to face also.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure.
Thank
You're
you
all
very
welcome.
much, and we'll come back again on the question and answers, and we'll also ask few of the questions at that particular time. And with this, may I now request Mr. Joseph Jude to share his dialogue on impact of digital technologies in breaking barriers in education, which is SDG 4, growth, SDG 8, and well-being, which is SDG 3. So over to you, Mr. Joseph Jude. We welcome you, and the stage is all yours for sharing that dialogue. Okay, you want to share the PPT?
Unmute.
Okay, done.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So thanks for this opportunity. Hitesh introduced me here. So I want to thank Hitesh and others as well for giving me this opportunity. I want to talk about how digital technology is breaking barriers in almost any area that we can think about. If you listen to the news, you will conclude that we are living in the worst era of our history. We only hear of rapes, murders, genocide, whatnot, all of the bad news. And we will think this is the worst period that we can ever live. But if you take a step back, you will realize we are living in a golden era of the human civilization as such. We are editing human genomes. We are sending people to Mars. We are going to space and coming back as if we are taking a picnic to Morning Hills. And all of these things are happening now because of technology. But I want to talk specifically about digital technologies because this is about digital technology, not as generic about technology as such. So if I have to talk about digital technology, there is a manifesto called Clue Train Manifesto. One of the principles of Clue Train Manifesto is hyperlinks subvert authority. Hyperlinks subvert authority. That sums up what I want to talk about, the impact of digital technology. Until the digital technology came into a picture, there were a lot of authorities, middlemen, so to speak. The movie industry had one, musical industry had one, education industry had one. Almost every places that we can think of had authorities, and they were the gatekeepers. Today, because of the hyperlink technologies, which is digital technologies, all of these middlemen and the gatekeepers are thrown away. The best example for this is our Prime Minister Modi. There is no better example than, there is no better political leader than our Modi, who understands the power of digital technologies. Until Mr. Modi came in, it was the mainstream media which would shape and reshape politicians. They can play around. There are anchors and there are editors who prided themselves of, we made this particular person. But here is Mr. Modi, who has bypassed the entire mainstream media, and he has gone straight to his constituents who matter the most. This is the best example for hyperlink subvert authority. And we can see this in every industry that I'm associated with. I'm going to talk about few industries here. So the first industry that we can think of is social structures and social behaviors. I'm assuming maybe in the past 10 days or so, you ordered from Swiggy or from Zomato, or before this COVID hit us, maybe you used Uber. Think back to our parent days. Would you have accepted food from somebody whom you did not know? When the Swiggy delivery man came to your door, did you ask him, what's your caste? What is your social hierarchy? Where were you born? None. This hyperlink technology is restructuring the social hierarchy. It is changing the social fabric. Today, a poor in further part of India, maybe it's in a village, he or she has a better life than the kings and the princes of the previous century. They have better access to healthcare. They have iPhones and they have smartphones, and they can see programs across the world. The previous century kings and queens could only imagine of that. So the digital technologies is changing what the capabilities that were available to us. I want to take a pause and say, probably the digital technology, the software, is the third invention of human minds that has this profound, abundant impact on everybody. The first one being writing. As you know, 5,000, 6,000 years back, the writing was invented, and that has changed us, because now today I can read about Socrates and Plato because somebody wrote that. But writing, if you see, unlike other inventions, it could be written on a stone tablet, it could be written on a digital tablet, it could be written on a papyrus, it could be written on a paper. It is so flexible, it can take any form. Similarly, if you take money, it's the same thing. It can take any form. It could be stored in coins, it could be stored in notes, it could be stored in credit cards. Similarly, if you see digital technologies, it can live in a huge mainframe computer or in a tiny, teeny device on the Mars Explorer collecting data from Mars. That's the power of software technology. That's why it is having such a huge impact. So we talked about the social structure being changed. What about education? Today, when I graduated in '94, after some years, I joined a software company, and I had a very simple assignment. I had to just write a program to bring up a pop-up window. Internet was not accessible at that time. It was not available. So I had to go to British Library, carry a book. It was this big, and I had to type a 100-line program just to bring in a pop-up window. And it took me one day to do all of this. Today, I can go to Google, I can search for what I want, and I will get the answers, and probably I can copy paste the answers as well, and probably I can finish off my assignment in about 15 minutes. Today, whether the best minds of the yesterday, it could be Richard Feynman, it could be any of the professors, or the best minds of today, I can access them from the internet. The Stanfords and the IITs, they are putting their syllabus and their courses online. All of this is possible because of the internet. Today, if I have even a slower internet, I can still learn from best of the minds. What about our well-beings? I once read someone who had an iPhone, the latest iPhone, the watch, Apple Watch. He fell down. The Apple Watch detected the fall. He dialed 911 and the emergency services came in and rescued him. That's the best example about what the internet technologies can do. So in any area that you are talking about, the digital technology, the hyperlinks are subverting the existing authorities, the middlemen and the gatekeepers, and they are creating entirely new industries. All of the things that we are talking about, just probably 2 years back, we couldn't have imagined having about 65 people. Mr. Hitesh was saying we are from about 12 different states. We wouldn't have imagined having people like this in one single forum. We are all sitting in our comfort of our home and we are all participating here. We couldn't have imagined it. It is because of the digital technologies that we are having. I want to close with this. Like any invention, it is not without its bad effects. It has all the good effects that I talked about, but it also has its bad effects. It's up to us, like this dialogue, where we say, okay, these are the positive things, these are negative things, and how do we actuate the positive things and reduce the negative things? It's up to us as a gathering. It's up to us as the human minds. Digital technologies is augmenting the human minds, but it is up to us as humans to see what to emphasize and what to minimize. Thank you for this opportunity. Hopefully, we will have a lot more engagement during the Q&A. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Joseph. You are always on time and to the point. Each and every line of yours and words are golden. So I think all of us have loved listening to you, and we'll again come back to you with more questions from the participants who have joined this program. Thank you so much, Joseph. And now I request Mr. Harit Mohan, who to give his deliberation on digital technologies for advancements in industry innovation, which is SDG 9, and sustainability, which is SDG 11. Over to you, Mr. Harit Mohan.
Thank you for unmuting me. I would also like to have the screen sharing rights, please, if that is possible. I have there was very small deck I wanted to show everyone today. So if I can also, yeah, I got it now. Thank you. So I'll just start sharing my screen in a while. But I think Joseph has set the tone very high, and I think the entire discussion about digital technologies, how we are changing the world with it, how sitting across different states, as Hitesh ji told in the initial part of discussion, and how we are together. So my role becomes even more better because as Hitesh ji was telling in my introduction, Significant and my company, and we are working with technology innovation a lot. Every year we work on about 1,000 technologies every year. And lately, technologies like IoTs, artificial intelligence, blockchain, and its usages that we are finding in it every possible arena right now has increased drastically. So with this today's presentation, I thought I'll give you some case studies, how India has opted well, where do we stand, what's the future that we have in here. So, I'll just go ahead and share my screen and let me know as you can start, seeing it. Yeah. So this was the a very brief presentation I thought I'll share with all the audience today who have found time on a weekend afternoon. So, as I was telling a little about Significant, so we are located in India and US, and we are a technology research company. While glancing through the digital technology impact, what I strikingly found was that according to the NASSCOM's report, uh, the spending today by the end of last year financial year, it was about $3.65 trillion. So you would see globally everybody spending a lot of money to become as digital as possible, and there have been 50 trillion GBs of data being used right now. There are 4 billion connected people. Of course, a few hundreds would be today on the call. Uh, a data research also suggests that there are 8 billion units or digital voice assistants coming up, in the market. And India alone have, added about 128 million users, which is about 23%. And 2020 is yet to end, due to the COVID impact. So that kind of tells what's the future, how globally digital technology is there, how people are spending a lot of money in this area. And as Joseph was telling, there are a lot of things that are trending within the digital technology world, from AI to cloud computing, advanced robotics, Internet of Everything. Then we have network connectivity, we have big data, we have 3D printing, security is happening. There are a lot of 5G technology coming in. We are talking about driverless cars being tested by Uber and other companies. So what you need to do all this is you need high data connectivity without interruption, so that data flows very fast. I sitting in here, can come across and handle a lot of things. Of course, for example, when I started, 6-7 years back, my company, I wanted to, when I'm traveling to United States, I want to, keep an eye on what is happening in my company. Of course, I would have an app in my camera, and I would check and see how, for example, people are working in my company and things like that. Today, I can manage the networks of my company. Today, I can also handle a lot of things sitting right at my office. So that's just the start of how we do it. There are refrigerators, for example, that get controlled by our app. We can monitor what our cameras are spending feed on when we are not at home. We can track via live feeding how our home is getting securely watched by these cameras. So all these are examples of how digital technology is touching upon. Talking about technology contribution from different industries. So a research over 770 startups and tech companies done by a startups company would suggest that this is how you would see artificial intelligence and all other companies are tremendously making mark, and every technology or digital technology companies right now growing in that field, and this kind of helps us understand that. Now, industry has definitely impacted, for positive, of course, where, with Industry 4.0 coming up, wherein we're talking about fully digital value chain, people are talking about, and there was one particular video I really enjoyed, liking, watching in the last a few weeks back. So this person sitting in his office room, is just not, say, doing Zoom calls. As you would see in the front panels of his screen, he is basically managing, with the help of 5G internet connectivity and the protocols, the mining that is happening right there in the mining fields. So this is the kind of technology we are talking about, wherein everything is being driven with the help of the technology, with the help of smart technology that we are talking about, and all the controls are getting. And of course, for this we need high speed data, high speed connectivity, so that the errors that are there could not be there. So this is one of the practical examples that have already started being in the countries. COVID, of course, have impacted a lot of digital technology. So big data and artificial intelligence, for example, have helped, including Indian government, in fetching on records. China have used this technology for tracking and making the resources available. The internet services have seen a drastic rise of 60%. There have been a lot of conference call systems like Zoom and all who have seen a 30% increase in their data usages. So of course, COVID-19 have restated the fact that digital technologies are going to grow even bigger than others. So that is the industry impact that we are talking about, and how it is improvising the livings in cities that we have. So there was a survey that was conducted, and on the right hand side of the screen you would see on the sustainable cities. Now sustainability can be defined just not on smart cities or cities that are internet enabled, but how much the cities are ready for having a very good lifestyle for its people. So technology of course plays a role. If you see at the bottom, New Delhi, Bangalore, Mumbai and Kolkata are right now at the lower scale, but then that's what we are aiming about, to make sustainable cities more with the help of technology. And we can leverage the technology, and this is some of the case studies that I was talking about. So there are companies, for example, spread across all the Europe. Some of them we worked at Significant directly. A Spain-based company, for example, handled all the lighting zones and LED technology with the help of sensors. They connect it with the help of a central port where they can connect everything. They can track the usages. There are other companies who are handling the entire transportation system and sending it to the apps for the users for making the technologies more smarter with the help of technology. And likewise, there are numerous such examples that you would see. And while I was also studying this, there are a lot of smart cities models in India where we are talking about right from Chandigarh to cities in Karnataka, a lot of intelligent transportation system, fitness themes, digital libraries. We're talking about city management and data control. We're talking about theme parks specially designed for women, a bicycle sharing, sharing rides. All this are well connected with the technology so that all can go in hand. We can predict the users, we can predict the activities, we can make sure that the resources are available at the right place and right time. So overall, in conclusion, what we are talking about is, of course, as per the recent Economic Times ranking, we have switched 4 places to 44th ranking in digital competitiveness ranking in the world. China, of course, take the biggest leap possible, and innovation is happening, as Joseph was also telling a lot, and digital technologies go in hand with the help of innovation. And India has improvised, got up to 48th rank, which is the biggest possible leap possible for our country. But of course, when digital technology innovation and the visions and the government is working rightly, I think we can make even better mark in this area. Yeah, so that was the piece of information just to help you introduce about it, and over to you, Hitesh. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Harit. Again on time. So all the panelists are taking 10 minutes. I think this makes my homework very easier because I don't have to give them a reminder to be on time. Thank you so much, Harit, and we'll also come back to you because there are questions for you from the participants. So we'll come back to you also. And I request Mr. Vivek Trivedi, who is a research fellow with Center for Social Work, Punjab University, Chandigarh, come development expert, to deliver his dialogue on harnessing potential for digital technology in social welfare administration. And he'll be talking more from the perspective of SDG 9 and SDG 17. Now, what is SDG 9 and what is SDG 17? I'll request Mr. Vivek Trivedi to start with that first. Thank you so much. Over to you, Mr. Vivek Trivedi.
Yes, thank you, Hitesh, for introduction and inviting me to be as a panelist. And rightly, you have introduced me because I have different roles in my career. Like I am a practitioner also, government also, and I'm also a research scholar these days. And so I made a request to Hitesh that I have shared at several platforms. And so I this time wanted to be a student and wanted to share my case studies and where I have worked, and included certain, things which are existing now in the country and the plan of the government. So I'll first, start with, the Digital India Mission. In case, if you remember how Digital India Mission came into existence, our PM, Mr. Modi in his first tenure has thought of, giving a boost to digital sector. And in 2015, Digital India Mission came. And while in Chandigarh, the same time, it was also launched with a huge program in Chandigarh. So I was involved in the team also. And I was asked to prepare a project, to boost the spirit, the objectives of the Digital India Mission. And the key objective of Digital India Mission was to empower the society, empower the communities on digital literacy major. So there were three key objects, defined by the government of India in the Digital India. Like one was the boosting the digital infrastructure in the country, which actually is a major challenge at present as well. Second was to, governance, making digitally sound governance for effective supervision, for, bringing transparency in the system, and many things, working on to reducing the procedural delays as well. I'll talk to these later. And third was, engaging citizens, making citizens digitally empowered, digitally literate. And when I was asked for these things and, these objects came and I was asked to prepare a project, then I first, made a review of literature like any research student do or any planner do. So I was astonished to see the figures for digital literacy in the country. You see, 40% of the India's population lives under, kind of poverty, which is regarded as BPL. If you see that census, then you will come to know that 40% are BPL in the country, below poverty. If you talk above to BPL means LIG, lower income group. So we'll talk with the BPL, and then you see 25 to 30%, accounts for illiterate in the country. And now, if you talk of digital literacy, then you will be surprised, more than 90% of the country is still, looking forward to get digitally sound and digitally literate. There are many figures, statistics has been into print and publication, and you'll come to know, mobile users, in the country is, considered to be the maximum in the country. So using mobile, using Android phone, using, the other means of communication, which backs the internet connectivity or any kind of internet connectivity, broadband, or say, if you talk of, say GSM lines or, in terms of 4Gs and 5Gs, even then, it doesn't go beyond 10%. So when I recommended that project and made 5 key objects for Chandigarh city, then, in first object, I, put in like, creating awareness on digital literacy, then training of trainers, then, making capacity building programs, then some projects at the field, then local engagements. So these are the kind of, we put in that project. And later, and I put in the timeline was, more than 2 years. So one of my seniors said, it's too long to implement. So we want something to be done in 1 month. I said, how it is possible? Now think of the entire country and the 10% digital literacy and the expectations of Digital India Mission. So it is a very challenging and mammoth task in the country for the government to act all alone. So we need partners. And I have just given this the background of the digital in the social sector. Now I'll talk something on my case studies in social development sector. Like, Hitesh has pointed SDG number 9 and 17. So SDG 9 for, sustainable cities and communities, and 17 for partnership. So here comes the role of SDG 17 as a major stake. You need partners to intervene. Like, Harith has given the best available technologies and what Europe has done, the practices in Europe, and Mr. Jude has also mentioned, the kind of. So you have to involve private sector all along. You cannot succeed. You cannot, make widespread, reachability and outreach unless you incorporate or invite all these sectors into this mission. So I'll refer here my, slideshow is already there in the background. So I'll refer here in context of Aadhaar and particularly case study of street vending, the most neglected, the community in the country under informal sector. And I tell you one thing, 90%, more than 90% of the world economy is considered to be the informal. Now you think we are under 10%. We are filing income tax return, we are having PAN card, we are having, linkage of PAN and Aadhaar. Now think of this 90%, informal sector where these people earn, they don't have PAN, they don't file ITR, they don't pay taxes. So this way, and how digital, existing technologies can intervene, and how can this informal sector can be incorporated in the formal setup. So this is a case study, and particularly with the street vending, I tell you, while the launch of the Street Vendor Act in 2014, it was an attempt of the previous government, and they made this legislation and made an act for empowering this community to come into the formal sector. So they have, within the act and the rules and the schemes, they have described how to digitally intervene into this sector. So when we did at Chandigarh, and simultaneously the other parts of the country and municipalities did. So I am here, I referring to Shimla Municipal Corporation and Chandigarh. So while the digital survey was like, if you see the other exercises, if you see census, if you see other social surveys, they are all manual. People go, talk to them, and take some information on some pad or say some, format or schedule or questionnaire. So this is how we started with the digital survey. We did the entire survey on the tablet, and the entire information was captured through online medium. There was no paperwork, no collection of, copy of Aadhaar card, PAN card, or anything else. So this was the first survey carried on digital mode, and we introduced MIS system, we introduced GIS system as well. We captured the longitude, latitude. Why? Because, sometimes duplication is there. If you talk of, say, 4 cities together, or Tri-City in case of Chandigarh, Mohali or Panchkula, people at the same time got surveyed in 3 cities. So here comes the role of digital technologies availability with the MIS and GIS. So you have the chances, you have the option to make redundancy, you have the option to make, duplication check. So these, if you don't have the digital technologies available, then how you will do or perform in the social sector. So this is how it has made dramatic, statistics. Like if I refer you, 24,000 persons were identified in the digital survey. When duplication check and data redundancy was made, it reduced to 21,622. So this is how, a digital intervention was, carried for the first time in the entire country, and particularly in case of Chandigarh as well as in Shimla also. Now come to the next. You see, I'll refer here our life, how we get these driving licenses. So most of the person in the, this virtual dialogue have driving license. And if you see driving license, there is a small chip embedded on that driving license. So have you ever experienced any kind of experience with the traffic police that they have taken your driving license and pushed inside any handheld device and they said this is illegal or this is not valid? Because a smart city card is available, but there is no device available who or which can check your authenticity of that smart card. So likewise, we have introduced smart card. We have introduced smart handheld devices also. It's all under process, and many other cities are doing like this, so that authentic person can be checked and unauthorized things can be, also be restricted. Even smart certificate of vending. Why all, like Harit has mentioned, smart city mission, smart cities. So what smart means? So smart means the technologies which can make or bring transparency, bring more accountability, more supervision, and more easiness. Lack of procedural delay and rat tapeism and bureaucracy is counted as the major hurdles in the government processes. So these technologies can reduce some, somewhere, and can bring efficiency. So if we talk of this digital survey, MIS mapping, GIS mapping, smart cards and smart ID cards, smart certificates, then eGov. We have introduced eGov also. The entire channel is on portal. And if you talk, say, you can ask one question that these are for the poor people and how these technologies, and I have given you the digital statistics also. One can say if digital literacy is not there, how these things can be assessed by the public. So there are, technology has also done here so far, like content management system based web portals in multiple languages at a time. Touch screen kiosk in multiple language. So if you see touch screen kiosk, people don't need to have sound knowledge, sound in education. These are interactive. You can touch, you can go ahead, you can pictorial graphics. So this is how we have made approach, and e-gov platform is under process, and some online calculators, like how corruption can be reduced. Online calculators. If somebody comes to the government window, or say any window in the government department, they cannot talk, they cannot, they can even government department or staff, they don't deal them properly with respect and dignity. So one don't know how much challan money has to be deposited, because all things are manual. You cannot read somewhere in the good writing in the challan papers. So people say, okay, 500. Here is the online calculator. You can go to the website, you put in your details, it is bilingual. If you don't want to go with the assistance on your own, then you can take assistance in e-Sampark. I'll refer here also 3 major setups under Digital India. One is Community Seva Kendra, this is Grahak Seva Kendra, Suvidha Kendra, and Common Service Centers. Why these are created, and these have been linked to private persons in the small localities as well. Because if you cannot do digital transactions, if you cannot assess digitally some services, these can be helpful for the community. And this is under the Digital India mission. This is one of the key objectives, to take digital connectivity into the rural communities, into the marginalized communities. Marginalized doesn't mean only poor. Marginalized, women also comes under this. Disabled persons, transgenders. So you have to not only think, government cannot decide policies for like we are under middle income group or higher income group. We studied in university, we studied in top universities. People are, they never had access to basic schooling. So how do you think they can use smart cards like RuPay card or Mastro or Cirrus? If you talk of, say, financial inclusion as well with the Digital India, in the financial inclusion, everybody is expected to have the one saving account. And they were opened all across the country, and statistics show in the state-wise figure, they are claiming to be more than 99%. But are they using RuPay card? Are they using Paytm card? Are they using Paytm, UPI, or these Google Pay like these? So we are very friendly in making digital transactions everywhere. So I talked of if I refer Shimla city, I have seen or observed street vendors using Paytm cards. Vegetable vendors, fruit vendors, they are using Paytm and they are using QR code. They are having their QR code installed at their kiosk. You just Paytm. What is this? Gradually, the country is going beyond with the Digital India mission. And with the Digital India mission, there is also one National Digital Literacy mission also. So in this literacy mission, government is trying to increase the digital literacy in the entire country. Digital literacy clubs are being founded in the schools, in the colleges, along with other clubs like Environment Day, Eco clubs or Peace clubs like that. So we are required to work, in say, consecutiveness by involving various stakeholders all across the country in all domains to increase the digital literacy. All alone, government cannot work. So in case of Shimla, if I want, sorry, Hitesh or Rajiv, can you switch on this slideshow so that I can, visualize certain pictures? If I'm in Valentine. Yes, Rajiv, can you go through the slide? Rajiv, yeah. See, this is how biometric survey, third-party survey, using capturing of, I was referring you GIS, geographical coordinates, so that, duplication check can be made or, authentic or transparency can be maintained. Next. Yes, Rajiv, please. Yeah, see, this is how the survey was carried out. No paperwork. This is simply catching information through digital tabs with internet connectivity. Next. This is e-gov setup. So here we have set up 3 pillars. One was with the government setup. The other was with the like Grahak Seva Kendra or Suvidha Kendra or e-Sampark in case of Chandigarh. And third was with the enforcement agencies who used to make a check in the public life. Yeah. Next. CMS based portal, I referred multilingual CMS based portal. So here you can see I am with the surveyed data list or fee calculator is available there. They can check their default status without any middleman. You can have dashboard indicators of, you can have the accessibility with the dashboards which give you data of, daily, data collection, like bilingual it is in case of here. And many, states are going for multiple languages. So this is one good example. Next, Rajiv. Yeah, convergence initiative. Digital India is bringing convergence. If you're not digitally sound, you can involve the other agencies who can provide you the platform, who can provide you the consultancy, who can provide you, the kind of assistance to go with the digital world. Next. Yeah, initiative like in case of Chandigarh, we work with the SPIC Society for Promotion of, IT in the Chandigarh city. We work with PGI where we have entirely worked on a smart system approach and bringing a smart system approach in the informal sector so that, when they comes in the formal setup, they don't get lost. They should be assisted. Next. These are the specifications. I don't want to refer to the specifications, ID cards. Yeah, next. Yeah, these are the setups, smart cards and the handheld devices like. Next. And this is smart certificates like smart. Next, Rajiv. Yeah, this is the e-Sampark portal. And we made a convergence with the e-Sampark. There are many services. In case if you are from Chandigarh, you must be knowing the utility of e-Sampark, which is widely recognized and widely accessible. And along with this, I will also refer here few examples which you must have come across. Prior to Aadhaar linkage with the LPG and other sectors, or Aadhaar linkages or seeding Aadhaar with the bank account, you must have remembered we used to have in our families like 2 to 3 LPG connections, sometimes 4 connections. Can you have 4 or 5 connections at a time in your family now? It is next to impossible now. Why? Because Aadhaar has been seeded with your, link to your accounts, link to your, profile, link to your data. Now you cannot keep, more than 1 connection, because transparency has been, into practice now. You cannot hide data. Immediately they will say this is duplication and you have to neglect it. Now subsidies. Earlier cash subsidies were given. And you must have heard in many states that subsidies are, transferred or transacted into some, gray accounts. Why? Because there was no linkage. Now Aadhaar connectivity is must. So transmitting or, transacting subsidies in cash has gone with the transparency now. If you talk of scholarships now, I have recently read somewhere in newspapers, scholarship is scam. Those governments who are not using DBT, direct beneficiary transfer, DBT is all along with the Aadhaar now. So there are many technologies, and this government is pushing all these digital technologies in a big way. But there is a challenge which I referred to you earlier, that digital literacy is a dream for this country, because this country is very vast, very big, and we are having the 2nd largest population in the country. And I referred to you in our introduction that 40% of the entire country is BPL, below poverty line. So this is a big challenge. And I think this is from my side. And next, if some questions are for us, then we will be happy to answer those questions. Hitesh, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Vivek Trivedi. And we can well imagine now how technology is slowly and gradually reaching the grassroots also, and changing the way things used to work earlier. And I think with The more usage of technology, things will become more transparent in the coming time. So in few of the cases we have already witnessed, as you shared one example of the gas connection. So thank you so much. We will come up with some questions, and this is the time for open house question and answers, and we have already received 5 questions from the participants. We have 20 to 25 minutes for the question. So I think after these 5 questions, we'll make the chat box open for questions. But I would request that we should not put the question right now. After 15 minutes, I'll request you to put your questions in the chat box. So first I'll take up those 5 questions which were there from the participants. And first question is for Mr. Harit Mohan, and Mr. Deepak Dhingra has asked this particular question. He says, Mr. Dhingra says, as we know, populations below poverty line are to be covered under most of the SDGs. Would it not be a key challenge for a country like India to make the digital technology available to those masses so as to ensure that no one is left behind?
Right. So I think that's a very, very interesting question. Of course, poverty is a big challenge. And to support that, I think what probably government is now trying to do is, making more cities enabled with Wi-Fi, making sure that the people, street hawkers or people from the below the poverty line, or at least people who run on daily wages, should have internet connection. So if the data has to be believed, I think way back in 2014-15, we had about 240 million users who were using mobile internet on mobile phone. Right now, in the last 5 years alone, that has doubled up to well about 485 million users. And what we are looking at is 450 million users, and what we are looking at is this is going to increase drastically. So when internet reaches people, they get access to a lot of apps, as Vivekji was telling. They can resolve their queries faster. Government can reach to the common man very faster. So I think the only way we start penetrating is that we should have at least internet on mobile. Geo strategically has, of course, done very good in making that last mile covered with the help of internet technology. Government has a lot of norms to provide villages with at least fiber connectivity. It was in news, I think, in the last couple of days also, that government is trying to make sure that at least the villages also turn smart and fiber reaches it. But that being said, at least the visions are positive. It always depends on how much work we do at ground level and how fast. But but then if the budget has to be looked at, it is always a debate that in India, should we first make sure that our people eat food, or is it the fact that we should invest more on digital technology? It happened when we started our moon missions, when people were enjoying that we have our shuttles have landed on moon, while others were kind of thinking, why not spend the same money in eradicating the poverty. So that debate is of course there, but I think having said that, both should get their due shares, and that is what I believe, that both have to be tackled. One is important for progress, and other is important for poverty. And probably poverty can only be removed if we make progress. So yeah, that's how I will take it.
So thank you, Harit, and I'll also request Mr. Vivek Trivedi to add to this question. As we have enough time for the question and answers, so I am making it a bit open for the panelists to answer the questions from the participants.
Okay, we have, even this webinar virtual dialogue is going under COVID-19. Okay. We cannot go for physical interaction, and we worked for last 6 months in the entire COVID scenario. And how we have inserted or uses or introduced technology. See, in Chandigarh, we have gone for all of a sudden app. If you remember from Chandigarh, those who are from Chandigarh, like immediately we have gone for app. Why? Digital mapping of deployed vendors for supplying the essential commodities, making their visibility on the map also, Google map also, so that their locations can be traced. They cannot go deeper into the contaminated zones. So we have utilized technologies in the sense that Google Maps were used. Automatically new apps were developed for the supply also. Command control centers, if you have gone through several articles published in the newspapers and the periodicals, that many municipalities in the entire country during COVID-19 has established command control centers for the entire city. Why? Because they were simultaneously monitoring the contamination zone, they were simultaneously monitoring the new number of cases reported for the positivity in the corona positive, and simultaneously they are also mapping so that their vendors don't enter into that contaminated zones. So this is how supervision, check, and monitoring was done consecutively by these command control centers. And this is how digital technology has really played a role in the short span of say 3 months, and simultaneously it was developed, established, and their results were, achievements were, gauged also. There were some failures also, and there were some reporting that, those were not effective. But, once you implement certain things, then you certainly come across some failures or some limitations. So I don't talk of much of limitations and failures. I'll talk of some achievements, because those achievements inspires not the bigger cities, but at least the smaller municipalities, the smaller cities, so that they can, I read somewhere, adopt to adapt. So we have to have certain, such kind of thought process individually also, and as an institution also, be it is a government setup or be it is a non-government setup. So this is all from my side. In case if you have some other, then I can surely address those questions.
Thank you so much, Mr. Vivek Trivedi and Mr. Harit Mohan, for giving your, you can say, answers from the case studies that you have done in the field. And the next question is for Mr. Joseph Jude, and Indwin E. Joel has asked this question. I repeat, Indwin has asked this question to Joseph Jude, and the question is, how can we look for circular economy and 3R? 3R is reduce, recycle, reuse principles for SDG. Mr. Joseph Jude. Joseph, can you hear us?
Yeah, okay. I had to unmute. Okay.
Yes, we have done that.
Yeah. So I think that if I understand the question, it's about reduce, recycle, and
reuse.
It is going beyond my knowledge.
Okay.
But I will give an attempt.
Right.
I'm most into software technology, so not into environmental and other things. But when it comes into the recycling and reuse, first of all, as I said, the IoT is playing a major role where we can track the usage. And so in industries, Industry 4.0 is coming in. I'm talking from an industry perspective, not from a consumer perspective. I don't have an idea how it can be done on consumer level. I will find my ignorance here. But when you talk about Industry 4.0, now in the Industry 4.0, this IoT devices at the edge places are playing a role of collecting data. Now, if we collect those data, then that can be mined and that can be fed back into the system to say, what's the kind of the material that can be used, what can be reused, is it possible to reuse, is it at the end of life, and so on and so forth. One of the major thing that's happening is that earlier what it used to happen is, before this data used to come, what used to happen is some machine or some machinery will run up to the end of its life, and then we will face a situation where it cannot be reused or recycled. Whereas now what's happening is we are able to measure when or what is the health of that particular machinery, go and repair it, so we are able to lengthen the lifetime of that particular machinery. Now, in my opinion, this in itself is making a huge change in the way that a lot of machineries are running and a lot of businesses are running. Second, this is happening in the existing machineries. But when we add that to the newer machineries that are coming in, which are already embedded with these health tracking devices for machineries, it only extends the lifestyle. So that's what I know, and that's what I could answer. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Joseph. And the next question is from Mr. Nilesh Maruti Gujjar. And this question is for our panelist, Mr. Vivek Trivedi. And the question is, how do you see approaching people from remote areas, those who does not have gadgets and knowledge to handle it? Mr. Vivek Trivedi.
Yes, Nilesh, this is a very valid question and a practical question. And it's a big challenge with the government. And as well as we are also thinking, like, I shared you during my deliberation that we were preparing a project, how to increase the digital literacy. And country like India, where thousands of villages and hundreds of small municipalities are there, and where there is a challenge for internet connectivity. Even if we are in the city of, say, metro cities, we are also somehow facing the digital or internet connectivity with the broadband issue, because this is a like, what shall I say? This is a kind of privilege being in the metro city that you have accessibility. But somewhere you're also feeling that you got disconnected. Even within this webinar, 2 times it got disconnected. Now think of that, the question which you have referred in the communities, village communities. Many segregated efforts are being made by the corporates in the country under corporate social responsibility with the even government patronage also. Even many civil society organizations have made impacts in the village community, like by setting some centers, digital centers. And I have referred you 3 platforms in 3 nomenclatures I have referred you, and those are in the villages. If you go to Himachal, if you go to remote Himachal and say Pangi, or you say Kinnaur, or you say beyond Kinnaur, the last village of Himachal, you will find internet connectivity. Even the panchayat also are digitally empowered. They have been given internet connectivity through wireless setup also, and somewhere with the cable also, to just connect to the entire part of the country. And there are having, I told you earlier, Grahak Seva Kendra. You will find some small shops, maybe the provision stores, and they are having a small board written there, Common Service Center, Grahak Seva Kendra, or like some similar nomenclature in the different states. These are given by the government to the village level, or say the city level small proprietors, so that they can give those services digitally to their entire locality. Because those locality cannot access because there is no cable or lease lines there. There's no somewhere wireless connectivity is also a big challenge in some tough geographical location. So these service centers used to cater, and if I'm from the social welfare administration sector, social work, so I'll refer here to the community organization or the group work, like, if we cannot entertain you individually, then we can take up, and by reducing the cost of individual accessibility in a group. So this is how a group intervention has been made by the government. And also, I don't know whether are you aware of for that or no, banks have also, because banking infrastructure is a very big challenge in the country. We have ATMs, but you will go somewhere in the remote areas, hardly in 10 kilometers you will find an ATM. Now we have the habit of not keeping the hard cash money in our, say, pocket. You are entirely, reliant on, credit cards or debit cards. But you think of those remote locations. So Bank Mitra has been added. Bank Mitras. Individual ATMs. People are ATMs now. They carry bag. They have the cash in their bag, and they will village, house to house into the village, or they sit somewhere in the panchayat, and they made announcements ki, okay, this day is for this village. So they used to sit with the cash, and they used to take the cards from the villagers and insert in their handheld devices, and they give the cash to the villagers. And same time, if somebody want to deposit cash into the bank, and then these bank mitra used to take cash from them and deposit with them, and then they later reconcile with the banks. So this is how digital digitally connected, but simultaneously the manual coverage is also there, keeping in view the tough geography and tough terrains where connectivity is a challenge in the 21st century as well. So I hope I have addressed the issue of Mr. Nilesh. Hitesh, please.
Next, thank you very much, Vivekji. And the next question is from Mr. Abhay Mohan, and this question is for Mr. Harit Mohan. And he wants to know, is there such technology has been arrived so as that official secrets of the government from the internet may not be misused in any form, in any manner? Mr. Abhay Mohan has asked this question to Mr. Harit Mohan.
Right. So I think information security and hackers are much like Tom and Jerry that we used to watch, since our childhood. So one evolves, the other, evolves better. So, so it's like, the security things and the data hacks have always been there. I was reading through a news last week wherein about 100 computers or PCs were hacked from our own NIC, which is National Informatics Center. So kind of incidents like this does happen, and this, of course, it is believed that it is from a Chinese hacker that they were trying to retrieve such information. So if you start scrolling, in information, there have been problems of hacking, especially government information being hacked a lot to get into the details of what are organizations, especially law-making organizations or enforcement organizations are doing. So there are places, of course, I think Joseph could add into it, from the cybersecurity perspective, if he wants to do this question. But as I believe, I think a lot of cybersecurity measures are being taken. The cybersecurity cells have got a little more active, which they were not maybe a few years back. And the hackers, I think, are becoming even more smarter when they come to, stealing this information. And yeah, Joseph, maybe you could add a little more to that question on how cybersecurity policies have evolved, or how we can safeguard our government information specifically.
So as Harit rightly mentioned, so far the government security as well as the cyber security is considered as part of the police, as an inland security problem. So if there is a problem, we go and there is a cyber police for each state, and then we go and report to them. But as Harit rightly mentioned, now this interstate, inter-nation espionages are happening and hackings are happening, which means as like Navy, Air Force, and the other branches of military, we need to have cyber segment of the military as well. So it needs to be a separate establishment and probably has to have a separate commander rather than considered as a state level control. So that, and it needs to come in that particular fashion, because with all the, unfortunately, India being governed, India being surrounded by a lot of hostile nations, the next war is not going to be using land and air. It's going to be using data and through cyber warfare. So we need to escalate our level of handling, and that is when, and as you probably all of you know, the origin of internet is from a US military establishment. Most of the devices that we are using, most of the technology that we are using in one form or the other are all coming from military establishment. So we need to escalate our handling of these data and warfare. Only then we will be much more equipped. That's my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you, Joseph, and thank you, Harit, for giving your views on the same question. And I was expecting one question from Mr. Viresh, but I think the time is running out.
You can be live.
Or if Mr. Viresh can ask it over Zoom itself, he can unmute and he can ask this question. Viresh. Mr. Viresh, can you hear us?
Yes, Viresh.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Actually,
your
my
question
question is
is-
that, my question is that government is giving a lot of useful schemes through a digital link, like Pradhan Mantri Kishan Yojana, directly crediting to the account, scholarship, etc. But recently, I read in Tamil Nadu, Krishnagiri district, there is a scam saying that most of the farmers, unfarmers also getting the benefits. How, what is the action from the government department and how it can be controlled through the district authorities?
And this question is for?
Anybody can answer, sir. Not particularly. It is a general question because almost 2 to 2 to 3 crores amount has been credited to the non-farmers. The actual farmers are not getting the scheme. There is a local agencies who are taking the other or bank link, and they are applying for this type of schemes. What is the measure and how it can be controlled, sir?
I put this question to Mr. Joseph Jude. And then we'll come to Harit. And then again, we'll go back to Vivek ji to make the last question inputs from all the three panelists.
I think Vivek ji would have been the better person to answer it from the government angle. But yes, technologically, Joseph, you can try and I can try.
So Joseph is having both the angles, government as well as corporate angle.
Yeah.
So we'll start with Joseph first.
Okay, I have led change management programs in corporate as well as in government. One of the things that I have realized is technology can address only to a certain extent. It is the human behavior, it's a human desire, and it's a human imagination at the end of the day, which excels beyond anything else. And as Harit rightly said, it's always a war between the Jerry and the Tom in all of these things. So one, you can put in as many controls as possible. It only limits the genuine people getting things. But even if you relax to a certain extent, people like whatever that you had mentioned, they are all going to come in and grab as much as possible. So one of the things, this has nothing to do with technology for that matter. When I was in Ministry of Corporate Affairs, we were talking to the Singapore authorities, equivalent Singapore authorities, and we were asking how long it takes for you to register a company. They said, if it is maximum, it's a day. If every information is there, it's half a day. At that time, it used to take us 3 months, but we brought it down to 1 week. We said, it takes us 1 week, and you are saying half a day. You know what the difference is? For us to implicate a wrong person, it takes us at least 5 years, if everything is right. For them, it takes 3 months to put somebody behind the bar. The justice system is so swift that nobody wants to commit a crime. In India, it is the other way around. Bernie Madoff was put in behind bar, but at the same time, whoever was arrested along with him in India, he's still free. He's still not implicated. So unless otherwise we bring in the fear of justice being rapidly done, we can do anything by technology, but we will not be able to eradicate such kind of behaviors. So in my opinion, it is not to do with technology, but it has to be augmented with the justice system, only then we will be able to do it. Thank you.
Thank you, Joseph, and shifting the mic towards Harit now.
Right. So probably I cannot add more to what Joseph have already replied. I would just say, as he started off, it's more of misusing the technology. So technology could have sent the money to the right places. Probably it is either a deliberate error or an kind of a deliberate error to put it where it should have not gone and where it should have gone. So yeah, it all depends, and I think technology can be a friend or a foe depending upon how we want to use it. So yeah, that's how probably the case must have been. And as the second point goes, it is always said you are innocent until proven guilty. So since that in law enforcement will take their own due course to prove guilty, so till the time all those who have done such scams would be considered innocent. And that is how probably they take advantage. And as citizens, as part of this country, we all should help get such misuses of the technology addressed as well.
So thank you, Harit. And one last answer from Vivek ji, and then we'll go ahead with the concluding remarks and vote of thanks. And after that, we'll have a group photograph. So please be here, because towards the end, we'll ask everybody to switch on their videos. So the last answer from Mr. Vivek Trivedi.
Yes, Harit has rightly said, that depends upon, its uses. And I'll say, like, technology cannot be, termed as somewhere negative or positive. Even digital technology and social media is considered to be negative, but it is, this is inhuman. But, who controls it? Human mind controls it. And it depends upon the human mind. And it is the upbringing of that human mind and how it is using. Since I am being from social welfare and we read, human growth and development. So it depends upon entirely on the human perspective, that how you have used it and how you have, misused it. Like in cases of where, people are highly literate, highly digitally sound, they have been cheated for, lakhs of fraud, lakhs of, digital transaction made unofficially, by taking OTPs or by accessing some, secret pins. And if you think of those persons who are not digitally literate, not even, literate, and this is the biggest, question for them, how they can be made, accessible or comfortable with the digital technologies which government is recommending and pushing, and simultaneously their, safety and security of, their data or their finances, be ensured. So here I'll say, government is also, making many awareness programs for, not sharing OTPs, not sharing any information over phone to anybody. And that is how, we are working. And if we exist in this world, so both ways we have to see, both part, parallelly, and we have to make checks. And I'll, just, concluded it by giving one example, not on the safety and security, but a recently launched Government of India scheme, which is called as PM Swanidhi Yojana, Atmanirbhar Yojana for the informal sector, particularly vendor, for making them, comfortable with the some amount of money on loan with, very less percentage of, say, interest. They have made it all digital. There was no manual interface. So one has to apply through Android phone, say app, or through online portals. So, the target community is not accessible with the digital, set platforms. So we have devised offline mode also. So government all alone cannot declare, or anybody, with the only digital option. You have to somewhere keep a parallel offline option also. Because in the race of development, in the race of using digital technologies, you shall not leave anyone behind. So we have to take everyone into this inclusive world. We have to facilitate them, we have to assist them, we have to give them all sustenance and support. And this is how we can make, a sustainable future. We can address the SDGs, which Hitesh has referred with all of us. And this is how we are moving. And we have to be a little positive in this regard, but we have to move on with this. Thank you very much. Over to Hitesh. Yes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Vivek Trivedi, and we'll go ahead with the concluding remarks and vote of thanks. And after that, we'll have a group photograph. So please be here for next 2 or 3 minutes, right? So we express our heartfelt gratitude to Mr. Baldeep Singh, Technical Director, Department of Local Government, Punjab, for accepting our request to be the chief guest of Virtual Dialogue Series 4 on UN 75 2020 and beyond, shaping our future together, with a theme on impact of digital technologies under the ambit of Sustainable Development Goals. hosted by Association of Professional Social Workers and Development Practitioners. Mr. Singh is leading and guiding youth in SDGs and has been a great source of inspiration for the entire fraternity. We are inspired by the words of our chief guest on leveraging technology for sustainable solutions. I hope you all will agree with me as it was a privilege to listen to Mr. Baldeep Singh. I extend my special thanks to our panelists who agreed to be a part of the dialogue. I'm grateful to Mr. Joseph Jude, Mr. Harith Mohan, and Mr. Vivek Trivedi for inspiring us with their success stories and case studies in harnessing digital technologies with some of the important takeaways from the dialogue. So I'll share 5 takeaways from this dialogue, and I hope all of you would agree with this. The first takeaway is start with the customer and your business goals, not with technology. This is the first step we should take. That doesn't mean that we are not using technology. So I'll complete my sentence. Start with the customer and your business goals, not with the technology. Thereafter, leverage technology or customized solutions helping you in achieving those goals. Second is create a roadmap of what the current customer understanding looks like and how you want it to look, and combine this with your business growth objectives. Practice this to create a plan which can then enlighten you on the specific role you need digital technology to play. The third takeaway is data collection and analysis plays a pivotal role in making any kind of decision. The fourth takeaway is for deriving true value and sustainable solutions in driving business growth, businesses need to relentlessly enhance their systems to stay one step ahead of the competition. And the last takeaway is take your team on the journey, very important part. Take your team on the journey with you and invest in training them to use digital technology aptly. So with this, be a friend and professional, and even like this requires meticulous planning and an eye for details. We are fortunate to be mentored and guided by our emeritus members from various domains and backed by a team of very motivated, dedicated and result-oriented colleagues of APSWDP. I thank the entire organizing team comprising of Dr. Sumit Arora, Mr. Navneet Trivedi, Mr. Rajiv Kumar Chaudhary, and Mr. Yogesh Sharma for their tremendous efforts, in-depth planning, and timely execution of the program. Through these past years, we all have discovered and devoted ourselves to our passion and grown immensely as a result. In our midst, we have grown under the mentorship of our eminent members hailing from such a diverse background. Our family now constitutes the senior bureaucrats from administrative services, senior eminent professors, medical scientists, social sciences, professional social workers, development practitioners, entrepreneurs, consultants from bilateral and multilateral agencies, activities, and students. Special thanks to all of you for showing your keen interest in this event, without which none of us would have come this far. So grand applause for everyone present here, and please feel free to reach us at apswdp@gmail.com or log on to apswdp.org for more information. With this, I request all of you present here to please switch on your videos. Let's get a chance to see each other and let's take some group photographs. So for next 2 minutes, we'll keep the screen here as it is, and then we'll leave the session. So Mr. Rajiv, the screen is totally yours now, all the 3 screens, and we have 2 minutes to capture those photographs. Rajiv, once you are done, please do let us know. So thank you so much for taking out your valuable time towards the weekend, and we'll come back to you again with some more interesting dialogues on some other topics also. Till then, bye bye.
फोटो खिंचाने के लिए मोबाइल से लॉगिन करना पड़ता है। चलो गुड लक भाई, वेल